how would you say that your style has evolved during these 25 years?
Well, it looks pretty much the same to me, just with, different weird characters thrown in. No, I mean, I always try to do things that I feel passionate about, and, this new one was different because it's musical, so that was a new experience for me.
But how do you think you've managed to not conform and be like everyone else during all those years? Has that been hard? Have you had to fight for it?
Well, I think when you make a film, you have to fight for any film to get made. So even if you have success, every film is a struggle. I mean, walking into a studio and saying you want to do an R-rated horror musical with actors that have never sang before, they say yes. It always amazes me.
What was it that attracted you to Sweeney Todd to begin with?
I saw it on stage as a student. I never, wasn't making films or anything. I didn't know anything about stage or musicals, but it just really affected me. The combination of the music and the drama and the humor, it just really touched me. It was the kind of musical I'd never seen before.
And was it hard to convince the studio to make a horror musical?
No, it was hard to convince Johnny to try to sing, because he'd never sang before. And, so I think he was more nervous than anybody. No, the studio was really cool about it. I mean, first time in my life where I thought, horror, first horror and then musical, and then that word together, would make them run screaming out of the room, usually. But they went for it, and so I was very grateful for that.
Did you know anything about Johnny Depp's singing voice before you started off?
No, and neither did the studio. I mean, we went in there and they said yes to him without ever having him sing. So I was going to play a joke on the studio, and finally, after they'd said yes to the movie, and take a room full of studio executives and put on a tape and play the Spice Girls or something, and say that's Johnny. But he was very. But he did surprise me. He made it his own. He made it a character, and I was very, as always, surprised by him.
But this is the 5th time you worked with him since Edward Scissorhands. What was it that first time that you fell for? Why did you hit it off?
Well, I think he just understood the character. He was sort of known as a teen idol, and he just, I could see in something in him that was not that. And I think, he's like a silent movie actor, and so that's what the character required. And I could just tell right away that he was right for the role.
And the casting for the film, how did you work with that? Was Stephen Sondheim involved at all?
Well, he had some say in it, but it was interesting because we ended up casting people that weren't professional singers, and I think, it just gives it something different that you see on stage. They weren't able to rely on their singing expertise, so they had to rely more on their acting abilities, and I think that gave it something, something more internal, something more, and even Stephen Sondheim said he'd rather have an actor singing it than a singer acting it, so, he was very open to it.
Yeah. But was it your idea to cast Sacha Baron Cohen?
Yeah, but he's Papa, so it's everybody's idea, cast him. But he was very game for it, and again, he's not a professional singer, but he hits the high note. It's good.
But I've heard rumors about what he did for his audition.
Yeah, he came in and he had a book under his arm, and he basically came in and sang every song from Fiddler on the Roof. So it was a very long audition.
You actually auditioned your girlfriend as well, Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah. I just, I didn't want to make it seem like I was just casting my girlfriend, so, she got probably a bit more tortured than anybody else in the situation. But, she was really right for the role, so, it wasn't that difficult.
And there are rumors flying about your next projects. Is there anything you want to share at all?
No, I'm still, emotionally attached to this one, so I can't really, think too much, Maybe I'll just stay here in Stockholm and
So, is there anything you'd like to say for the screening of the film?
Thank you again for having me here. I look forward to visiting the city and, hope you enjoy the movie. Thank you.